recording rate.
Yeah.
Mic's on, mic's on, mic's on.
Can we please start?
Yeah, the camera's on.
So, yeah, that's I think so.
So once it's started, I don't know.
Okay, then let's put the banner on.
You know,
Once it's started, I will.
you don't have to be logged in.
Then,
Okay.
Okay.
just wait. Who's
Keynote is not in.
who,
She's not in.
she's not in one.
She's locked. What's her one? Is she not supposed to be here?
Yeah, well, okay. Give us 5 minutes. Yeah, the meeting is
Is it okay?
shortly. Yeah,
Okay,
it's okay.
let's start.
Wait.
So, when you come back, when you pause the camera, can you just fix the focus?
We are 2 minutes out.
Just touch up the focus outside of it. It's the first ring.
Hmm?
So just touch up the focus.
Oh, this one.
Yeah, no, so see over here? That's the small ring in front of by the lens. A bit more. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Thanks.
Okay. Okay. Okay, for me, 5 seconds.
What's on the back?
5, 10, 1, 4, 3, 2.
Hello, 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 hello. Hello and welcome to this year's Money Smart Week. My name is Mpumi Mbete. Welcome. Thank you for taking the time this morning to join us. If you want to learn about saving, managing your debt, and perhaps investing, maybe you're in business as well and you'd like to know how you can grow your business, this is definitely the space to be. We've got guests who are expert, and I'm glad to say they are all women from different sectors, all here to teach us about financial literacy and how we can double our money beyond just folding it and putting it in your pocket. If you've made mistakes in life, I will tell you, they say money talks. Sometimes it just says goodbye. You saw it come in, you see it leave. Your bank is just a bridge. It comes in and it goes out. We're going to fix all of that today. So please do note, I have to say importantly that this is financial education, and as much as it is financial literacy, it is not financial advice. Financial advice is like a diet. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation. So you would actually have to visit a financial advisor to understand what would work for you and your unique circumstances. Much like an Uber. If you have to take a Bolt, a Uber, or any e-hailing service, you have to tell them where you are for them to pick you up there and where you want to go. We treat the financial journey the same way. Luckily for you, I am not the one who will be teaching all of that. I am here to learn with you. Please do engage with us. We look forward to getting some of your questions and comments. We've got a poll quiz coming up as well, and great prizes. Some of our authors that are with us online in studio will also be giving away nice prizes for us. So make sure you participate. If you don't stand a chance to win. Before we get carried away with the program, I would really love for us to go and check out our MD, BASA, Usisibongi Kunene.
Microphone is fine.
Yes. Okay, it's me too.
We're fine.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You want me?
Ready when you are.
Unmute.
Unmute.
Hello, welcome. If you've just joined us, thank you to those who stayed with us during that technical glitch. It can't be worse than what we saw during lockdown. Ha! The Zooms from ministers to CEOs, children running across the screen too. Flowers, but thank you so much. We do apologize for that. As we continue, welcome to Money Smart Week from the 25th of August to the 31st of August. I love that it falls on Women's Month because I honestly think women are the lifeline of our society. And if we can get our money right, our families, our communities, and our country will thrive. So if you want to learn how to manage your debt, maybe you want to learn about saving or investing or pivoting, you are working and you've got your side hustle or would really like to look at investing, I can promise you we've got great experts lined up today to help us with just that. So no matter where you are on your financial journey, there is nuggets of wisdom that you can learn today. Speaking of financial journey, this is a financial education seminar. So it means it's not a one size fits all. Every journey is as unique as your thumbprint. So if you have to call an e-hailing service to take you from one point to another, you have to let them know where you are. So if you're seeking financial advice, we advise that you visit a financial advisor, someone who's accredited and specializes in helping you on this journey. Now, before we get carried away, we have prizes. We've got questions on poll quizzes coming up, so be sure to interact with us, send your questions, answer questions, so you can stand a chance to win some of our great prizes. Before we go too far in our program, let's hear from our MD at BASA, Miss Bongi Gunene. Unable to hear.
Just explain.
The people are saying. Are we able to hear?
Okay, we could
Can we hear? Can we hear? I thought in case the guests want to refer back to her notes or something she mentioned, are we able to?
just put
174 after. The Wi-Fi is actually
Did you join us, yes? Is it public? Is it just the yes? That's what you like.
Yeah, she's listening.
Don't panic. Go to the
Will you give us a heads up on the videos towards the end?
You got 6 minutes.
Okay.
30 seconds. Oh no, it's got 6 minutes left. Also, there are one interview, so maybe pops off all things. That's perfect. So yeah, so you can just open your guys' YouTube channel. Just give me a second. The volumes are next.
We're switching back to heaven.
Let me see.
And then we're going to go to the main scheme address.
Okay.
I'll just read a bio.
You just verify and then I'll bring the presentation.
Okay.
Maybe can you just do your phone like this so that when she sees the thing, she knows it's done and then come back.
Yeah, he said it will notify us.
Yeah.
Even just 30 seconds before.
So they are there. From here.
Or you can see how many minutes, how many seconds are there.
I can't, but I know. Yeah. She's gonna say, like, you'll get the conclusion.
So are you going to
Yeah, I'll be sharing.
my slides?
Yes.
So when I say, and in the next slide,
No, I'm gonna give you my laptop.
oh,
Yes.
okay.
And you're gonna have to switch.
So I must remove mine.
No, you can, yeah, you can just close it for her. She'll give us, when she's reading the bio, we'll be preparing you.
Oh.
This slide will be- yeah.
The network is down. They're seeing nothing. They are seeing nothing. Are you still seeing?
No, we have
I
this
think it's
audio.
your network.
It's their network, I suppose.
With everybody's phone.
Yeah, we have more than 3 monitors in, and everything is fine.
Yes.
Still have like 2 minutes left.
Okay, what are you?
Because we're playing with this one. Yeah, we're gonna show you just now.
Daniel, on the screen, just see what the battery size on the camera. Should be in the top corner.
How far is the video?
47%.
47%. Okay, cool, perfect.
How far is the video?
Hmm?
How far is the video?
Hmm?
How far is this recording?
1 minute. Do you have the program? Program?
Yeah, it's no problem now, yeah.
Hard copy or?
There's a hard copy, yeah.
Yeah, please give us a hard copy if you have extra one. Oh, let's get a hard copy because that one.
Oh, you know, actually, can you just take,
Use your phone, please.
yeah, just take a picture of the thing, and then I'll just have it myself.
Do you need this?
She's finished.
Thank you so much, Sis Wendy. Oh, if that was a class. Sis Wendy is coming up shortly. Sis Bongi, thank you so much. If that was a master class, I would have to give some takeaway notes. The very first thing she started off on a budget. And we learned if a budget is telling your money where to go, because if you don't tell it where to go, you often wonder where it went. And there's more month left than money left in the bank. And she also touched on what money affords us: freedom, dignity, and choices. And I think that is options across the line. No matter what culture, what race, what language you speak, we all want freedom, dignity, and to be able to have those choices and pass them down onto our children. I love the part about watching how we talk about money. Gunemagama we like to use like klein geld, small change, madlana. Can you hear me?
No.
Can you see me?
The host has no sound.
I'll keep waffling until you.
See, now that's bad, now it's bad.
Is it fine? Am I back? All right. So, well, I was just taking my takeaway points from Usis Bongi. So, thank you so much once again to the MD of the Banking Association South Africa. I think some of those lessons we learn as we go, and we're different women at different points in our lives. I remember years ago, I had bought a book, Yaga Susie Oman, about women and money. I was in varsity, and some of the lessons didn't make sense to me because I wasn't even earning an income at that point. But same book, same woman, 10 years later, I could apply some of these lessons. So maybe some of what we're going to learn today, you might think is not for you today. Please jot it down somewhere. It will become invaluable information. The one thing that is universal is how we talk to money. Think of it as a person. If money was a person, would money want to be around you? based on how you treat it, based on how you talk about it. Just think of money as a person if you're always talking negatively about it. Or right now, you do a purse audit. Just go into your purse, look at all those receipts that you've crumbled, look at how money is sitting inside your purse. Maybe your notes are squashed. If I was money, would I want to be hanging around your bag right now? That's just for you. You don't have to answer it out loud. Now, I promised you experts, and experts I will give you. From Sisbongi to Sis Wendy Celebi. She's the Director of Seeds to Forest Training and Coaching Services. She is a seasoned banking professional with 37 years of retail banking service. I said, Sis Wendy, you've been in the sector for as long as I've been alive. So I'm going to go back to the...
Please wait.
Okay.
It's a Wi-Fi issue. People drop it down.
Can we not connect to the phone?
Please meet. Something else.
What's something else apart from the Wi-Fi?
Let me see.
Because it's giving us problems now.
Do we have a wire connection?
No, there's no Wi-Fi connection.
It's only Wi-Fi.
Does it
Hotspot
dip
from my
in
phone?
and out?
Yeah, we
Oh, okay. I don't mind talking, guys. We talk on air and we don't know if someone's listening. We just keep talking because when it comes back, then it picks up unless we need to start from picking up from profile. Can they hear me now? All right.
Please unmute.
All right. So I thank you so much for the feedback, guys. We do see the comments when you lose our sound. We are coming back. Stay with us. Maybe we can type it in the chat that we're aware of the problem. Thank you. We're addressing it. It's giving you time. It's Wendy, it's giving you time. You are now.
I'll be fine.
Yes.
It's just something that happens all the time.
Yeah.
But if you don't have those butterflies, then you're taking advantage of it.
Yes, I said to my mom, I'm good nervous. I sweat, so I always want to wear dark things that don't show my sweat patch.
And not like they cover the arm.
Yeah, because I sweat, but I said to her, there's a level of good nerves that I know that it's going to go well. And then...
They're going to go away as soon as I start
That's
talking.
okay, yeah.
But your phone,
It's natural.
just make sure your network is off so that when it's raining.
I hope I don't use any baby language.
You put it on flight mode, then you just...
If it's
I
on
must also
flight,
put mine on flight mode.
Then you switch
No,
on.
whatever is on
Yeah.
hotspot, it-
As long as it's on the battery.
Do not disturb.
Yes.
Or can I do that's on my personal phone? No.
Oh, if I join the live stream is going to end if I join your hotspot now.
On my phone.
But it's going to be up again.
It will switch.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
will switch, but the live stream is going to end. Yeah, is that the point we try?
Yeah, and we can't start it if it ends.
The one on YouTube one.
Let me keep it up and then let me connect you on and then hopefully it just switches. It will switch that.
We are leaving
That's
that,
good.
the public is not hearing us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we?
You see, that's work.
All right. See, we could have gone to an ad break. Now we're back. Thank you for staying with us.
The meter.
It's look, it's still doing the same.
Yeah. Issue. Because I can see her talking, but the audio is just the one that is cutting.
We're back on the program.
No, but I think it's agitating.
Okay, I'm gonna mute now. I'm unmuting.
If you can hear us, I will be able to just a thumbs up, give us a thumbs up if you can hear us.
that are actually running those homes. So, these statistics are really meant to really get us to wake up if we are in some form of slumber, to say, what are we going to do better? At the end of this, a podcast or broadcast, what are you going to do? You have to do something. So I've got a few questions here that are supposed to be thought-provoking, and I'm saying, how strong is the foundation of your financial life right now? It's an introspection question. What financial materials are you using to build your wealth? Are you saving? Are you budgeting? Are you investing? Or are you investing in educating yourself on these foundational principles? And if you are already building, what cracks are you noticing, in your financial foundations? And are there any weak spots? Because if there are any weaker spots, then they have an impact on what you are building, because you start noticing cracks and a whole lot of things that sneak into your structure. And then the most important one is, what are your money scripts? What are your money beliefs that are shaping the way that you are building? Are you believing in some of the money myths that are there that are actually not true? So I think these questions are meant to really to jolt you to think, and what part of your house, if you are building already, needs attention. Is it the foundations? Is it the walls? Is it the future extensions probably that you're thinking about? Or what is it that you are identifying as a gap that you need to fill when it comes to your finances? And most importantly, what legacy are you building? What do you want to leave standing? So I want to share a few building blocks that I believe are important. And the first one is to discover your why, your WHY. You see there a quote by Mark Twain, whom I love very much, and the quote reads as follows: the two most important days in your life are the day that you were born and the day you find out why. I love changing it to say the two most important days are the day you were born and the day you discovered your financial why. Because you can go through life working but not have a why. Because the power of having a why is that it becomes the heart of your financial journey. What you see on the screen there is Simon Sinek's golden circle. And the circle, at the center of that circle, is your why. Why are you doing the things that you are doing month after month, but your finances are regressing instead of progressing? Why is it that, you get paid today, 3 days later, you're flat broke? So what your why will do for you is that it will lead you to a financial purpose. It becomes a compass for your finances. And you know what a compass does, right? It points you to your North Star. It points you, it brings you back. When you go off course, your compass is there to bring you back. And here we're still talking about finances. And you know what it does? When you have your compass, you actually are able to focus on your own financial journey and not look at other people's financial journeys. And it actually helps you not to compete. You know how we like to compete, right? We look at someone and we size them up and we think, Jane Akasimpali, she's driving this kind of a car. I can also do that. But what you have not done is that you have not understood their context. You have not understood where they come from, what their why is. And the power of the why is that it will lead you to the how, to the what, to the when, to the who, what you spend your money on, who you spend your money worth, and on what. So that's the power of knowing your why. So once you know your financial why, then it leads you to the second thing, where you discover your vision. You know, what is your financial vision? Do you have a vision for your finances? And as you would know, vision is a picture of a preferred future. So you're acknowledging, financially, I'm here, but I can get somewhere. Financially, things are not looking good, but I can actually do something in the future. This is where I want to go. And you know, the scripture says that, you know, that I read, and I will refer to them because that's who I am. They say that, you know, without a vision, the people perish. But another, you know, a part of the scripture says, you know, without vision, the people cast off restraint like wild horses. It means that when you spend your money, you spend it like a wild horse because you've got no purpose, you've got no vision. And once you have sat down and you've written what your picture of a preferred future is, that helps you to have a financial purpose. And what is purpose? Purpose is the reason that something is being done. So once you've established what is my financial why, what is my financial vision, then it drives you to having that purpose, and then you know what you want to achieve. And then the third thing that you do is that you start setting those SMART goals that they talk about. You know, once you have those goals, they help you to prioritize your financial objectives. And you'll see that I've got a quote by Albert Einstein. I love this quote as well. There are many that I love, and every time I say I love it, just know I love many of them. It says, the quote says, if you want to live a happy life, tie it to a goal, not to people or to things. So when you do those goal setting, you tie your goals, you know, to specific things that you want to achieve. They are linked to your purpose, linked to your vision, and linked to your financial why. So what your goals will do, they'll help you to have clearer financial priorities. The reason why we don't stick to the goals, we don't achieve some of the goals that we set, it's because, you know, we haven't really set measurable, achievable goals. You know, that SMART acronym, I think all of us know it. So what goals do, they push you to be accountable. They hold you accountable, because every time you go back to your goals, they will actually communicate to you to say, my sister or my brother, you've moved away from what you had intended. How can you be the boss of your finances if you are not sticking to your own goals? And so your goals must also be accompanied by a solid financial plan. You know, most of us go through life. I went through most of my financial journey without a plan. And that is why I wrote a book that says, I wish someone had told me. You are in good company today because somebody is telling you what you need to do, so you can actually correct the money mistakes that you have made. And I think what is critical here is that even as you set these auspicious goals, break them down into smaller chunks. Have your small, your medium, and your long-term goals. And then what you do is you link them to your investing and your savings journey. If you don't break down your goals, you are setting yourself up for failure. So it's very important that you have those small, medium, and long-term goals, and then they become your compass. You link them to your vision, you link them to your plan, and then you are good to go. So one of the other things that is very, very important that becomes, you know, a roadblock towards us achieving our goals is the relationship that we have with money, the money scripts that we have. You know, growing up, I am in this generation that is called the baby boomers. You know, our parents never used to have conversations with us about money. Every time you went to them to ask them for money, they would say, no, we don't have money. Do you think money grows on trees? And that is something that lodges lodges in your subconscious mind. As you go through life, you are thinking that there is no money. But you know that our parents were wrong, because money does grow from trees. Because paper comes from tree. So what are those manuscripts that you have? What are those, maybe growing up you were poor at home and you decided to the day I start working, I don't ever I want to be that poor. So when you start working, you begin to hoard money because you are afraid that you don't want to go back where you come from. So very, very important that we don't allow our upbringing to be the one that becomes a stumbling block in us building these great foundational principles. What I'm sharing will actually make you to go back and really think, what is my relationship with money? Do I hoard it? Do I give it away? Because probably I'm afraid that if I keep money will then make me to be a sinful person. There's that misunderstanding where people say money is the root of all evil. That's wrong. Money is not the root of all evil. We need money for everything that we do. It's the excessive love of money that pushes you to do anything and everything to get money. That is the root of all evil. So I just want us to pause as well to think about what our money scripts are, what our beliefs are, because those can either help us to achieve our goals or they can become a stumbling block. What you see now is just a high-level financial plan that one can put together. And of course, as you can see, it starts with our very, very known about principle of budgeting. And what a budget simply is really, it's a plan of how you are going to manage your limited resources with your unlimited needs. We have so many needs and most of them are wants in between, but when you use this tool called a budget, it really helps you to manage your finances. I'm retired now and the budget has become my friend because what I earn is a stipend. It's no longer a salary. So when it's a stipend, it's very little, and so you have to be so prudent about how you use it. I've got a blue book at home that I use. I told you I'm a baby boomer. We still believe in writing things down. So every month when my stipend comes in, 2 days before, I sit with my blue book. I write my income on the left. On the right, I start writing the things that I'm going to do. And the power of writing things down is that as I write, by the time I get to item 4, it shows me, good, you are over. Kelly, go back and review, and do something. So that's the power of using a budget. Please, if there's anything that I can implore you to do, is to fall in love with this process of managing your money. Because if you do this, you will definitely become the boss of your finances. It doesn't matter how much you earn. A lot of people will tell you, I only earn 5,000. The principles that you apply on 5,000, you'll be able to apply on 50,000. You'll be able to apply on 5 million. And then once you've done that, it's not just good enough to have a budget. You must also have a spending plan. At the end of the month, go back and check, did I stick to the budget? What did I spend my money on? The next speaker that's going to come after me, she's got an amazing, topic that she's going to talk about, and I'm hoping that I too will take something from it and implement. So when you have a spending plan, it will show you that you actually spend more on takeaways than you had planned. And so next month, you are very careful. And if you do this consistently, it becomes a part of what you do. And of course, you need to have an investment plan that contains the strategies of how you're going to create this wealth. And of course, you're going to link this investment plan to your short, medium, and long-term goals. And then the most important thing I want to share today is that from the time you enter the office and you start working, start investing for your retirement. A lot of us think we still have the gift of time because I'm young, I'm 20, I'm 25. I'm here to tell you that I am retired, and how I wish someone had told me on the first day that I walked into the office to say, start investing for your retirement, because retirement came so quick while I was still thinking that I'm young. So have that a retirement plan that is really made up of long-term investment. And then also with us, we don't have estate planning. It's one of the weaknesses that a lot of people don't have. I want to encourage you, if you are employed, you must make sure that you have that WILL document, the will, because if you don't have that, when you pass away, you are going to die interstate. And I always tell people that when you die interstate, the challenge with it is that the state takes over your finances. They decide who is going to be the one who will be the executor of your estate. And actually, I tell people that in my will, I've put in my shoes. I love shoes. I've got shoes. I've said who must get my shoes, because I don't want to be somewhere in heaven looking down and then the person that I really don't like is wearing my shoes. Can you imagine how I'll be shouting and screaming and say, don't wear my shoes? So rather put it in a document. A will is the last testament of what you would like to see happen in the event you pass away. And so as I end off my talk is that if you do these things, these foundational principles that I've shared, then you will be able to can stand firm and say, I'm financially knowledgeable, I'm literate. And when you are financially literate, you have the confidence to be able to make the right decisions because you've acquired the right skills, because financial literacy is really about acquiring the right skills and knowledge to make the right financial decisions and be comfortable with the consequences of the decisions that you've made. And so when you are confident, then you become resilient. When times of storms come, when the storms of life come, you're confident that I've got my foundations right, I've done my principles right, everything is in order, and then you get to what we call financial wellness. You sleep well at night. Even when you get those 087 numbers, you answer them with confidence because you know you've done the right things. You know, you don't want to be those people, hello, hello, no, there's no signal here, I can't hear you. No. Answer those calls with confidence because you have put in the foundational principles and you've done it right, you are building well. And of course, the next speakers that are going to come after me, I've already laid a solid foundation, a strong foundation. They are now going to add brick upon brick so that that building of yours is a strengthened and a strong building. I wish you all of the best as you take control of your finances and become the boss of your finances. And you know, one of the things that we like doing is that after we've heard this, we don't do anything about it. I want to encourage you to close the gap that is called the action intention gap, because there's always a gap between the intentions that we have and the actions that we do. So close that gap by doing something today. Go and check, what are your finances looking like? Are they flourishing or are they languishing? If they're languishing, they're in ICU. If they're flourishing, they're outside of the general ward and outside of the hospital. Thank you.
Oh, you know, we can all go home. Huh? No, please, like she mentioned, she's just laid the foundation. We are excited to now build on that foundation, and it's a solid foundation. And I love that analogy of foundation because one man put it and said, depending on how deep and solid the foundation is, the building can go higher. If you see when they build like these high-rise buildings, the foundation is dug so deep. So I hope with that deep foundation, we will definitely be able to lay the bricks, and the sky's the limit. I did want to let you go because you covered some of the questions I had for you, Siswendi, but for someone who wants to close that action intention gap right now, I think the biggest fear is, where do I start? How do I start? I'm so far in debt, I don't see a way out. I love what you're saying, but right now where I am, I don't see a way out. There is someone in that part of their journey. You talk about avoiding calls or, you know, not being able to answer calls. Someone is not able to sleep because of the anxiety of, you know, they could take away the car, the house tomorrow, or wherever they are in their journey. Or in the economic times we live in, someone might even be worried about just making ends meet to the end of the month. So sometimes I think we miss the message because we think we are far off the wagon, that we are not able to get back on track. What do you say to that woman right now?
What I have to say is that start today by going back home and really having a one-on-one conversation with your finances. Check where you are. The first thing is to acknowledge where you are. You know, even when you go to AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, they say you must first acknowledge where you are in order for you to move forward. So do that deep dive, you know, don't be afraid. And then what you see will then guide you to step number 2, which is getting help. There's help out there. There are so many people. The ladies that are going to come after me, myself, who are available, financial planners. By the way, when you look for a financial planner, it must be a certified financial planner, not a fly-by-night. Go to them, speak to them. Help is available. They'll show you strategies of how to actually get out of the pickle that you find yourself in. I think the problem with us as women is that we put on makeup, we dress well, we smile, and we put out this facade that all is well when it's actually not well. I think it's time for us not to be embarrassed about where our finances are. And that's why I wrote the book and I share the money mistakes that I made. So you read all about it. You know, they used to say, read all about it. You read all about my mistakes in my book because I thought, let me acknowledge and then let me get help.
Now, before I go into our next speaker, what is the title of Mam Wendy's book? I think we mentioned it a few times and she hinted at it right now. So if you remember the title of her book, or maybe Google is your friend, fast fingers in the chat box. I am waiting for answers because you might just win yourself a copy. If I saw on the table correctly, she brought a couple of copies for us. So just let me know the title of the book in the chat box and you could walk away with a copy of that book and we'll make sure that you get yourself that copy. The other thing that I wanted to ask, because we are all taking away these notes as we were writing, is she also mentioned one of the roadblocks that prevents us from financial freedom, financial wellness, and it's an important roadblock. She made reference to how early on it starts in our lives and the lifelong impact it can have. Do you remember the roadblock, or you're stuck right there at the roadblock? Please, if you remember, you can paraphrase it because we all hear and interpret differently, but if you can just let me know what that roadblock is. So I've got 2 copies to give away. 1 for the one who gives me the title of the book, and 2 for the one who actually remembers the roadblock, which would be our starting point. I was very disappointed, Siswendi, to hear that after salary, I'm going back to stipend. Not that I was very smart with my stipend. You just come out of varsity and suddenly you get allowance higher than what you used to get. Listen, I was bowling, I had arrived, I upgraded phone, I moved from the one room that I shared to a bachelor. So I'm looking forward to reading about all those mistakes. And you don't have to make the same mistakes. Like she mentioned, if we can learn from those who came before us, who are generously sharing that information, why should I make the same mistakes? Or maybe I've made them already and I can start from where I am with what I have, moving in the right direction. And it's practical. Earlier we mentioned how we are all at different phases of our journey, and Usiswendi touched a few times on my next speaker. I think money, your financial journey, is not just a diet, it's a dress. It fits us differently and we have different styles no matter who you are. I spoke when we opened about a book I read when I was in varsity that did not make sense to me until I started working. But the same book meant something very different when I started having my own children and reviewing my money relationships. So how are we going to be our unstoppable selves? This money week, we're going to be making money moves and we're going to learn practical, applicable steps that you and I can do from today, starting right now. Once we've looked at where we are in our journey, once we've honestly reflected and decided that we want something different. Mr. Neil, coming up next, is a wife, a stay-at-home mom of 3. Might I add, under 10. Yes, we can have a moment of silence for her. Send her strength. But she will be giving a masterclass of how, wait for it, she's able to pay off her current debt of 600,000 rands. We can round it off to $1 million. Because with inflation and interest rates and things going up, we really could round it off to $1 million. And I say that because sometimes you think the number is so huge, you get overwhelmed depending on your money personality. The ostrich, you dig a hole, you just hide. You don't answer phone calls, you pretend, you don't open no debt statement, nothing. But she's here to teach us the cash stuffing method. Now, if you're on social media, you might have seen people do it on TikTok, you might have seen people do it on Facebook, Instagram. Please follow her at The Mood Budget. At The Mood Budget, as she documents real, unfiltered, debt-free journey on social media, proving that ordinary families, ordinary women like you and I, no matter what age, can achieve extraordinary financial turnarounds with just one envelope at a time. And before you go spending money to get an envelope, start just with what you have at home. Look for it. It's those debt envelopes that you have not been opening. Tear them up, start there, and use that. And over to you, Tanil. Welcome.
Hi. Bhumi didn't give me the most glamorous intro, but thank you. Hi, I'm Tanil, and I document my husband and I's journey of paying over 600,000 debts on social media. I know it's an overwhelming number, and I'm still taking it in. But my husband and I had to hit rock bottom, to understand that we were never managing our money right, and it allowed us to get intentional about our money and learning how to steward it correctly. So in the beginning of every month, we start with 3, I'm not even going to call them simple steps because they're quite tedious, but we have to go through it in order to learn how to manage our money. So in the beginning of every month, we start with what's called a paycheck planner. And that's, since my husband's the only one who brings in a solid income, we work solely on his income and everything else is just a bonus. So we make sure that whatever our expenses are, we can only manage within his salary. So we start with noting all our income, and then we go on to our fixed expenses. Our fixed expenses are things that cannot change on a monthly basis, like your rent, your Wi-Fi, your insurance, anything else that you can think of. We then make a note of any subscriptions, and then we go on to our variable expenses, and this is what we call our cash stuffing expenses. So if you haven't heard of cash stuffing before, it's physically taking your money out of the bank and pushing it into envelopes on a monthly basis. So just to round it off, at the end of the month, if your cash envelope variable expenses come to an amount of 4,000. You physically go to the bank, you draw out that 4,000, and that 4,000 then goes into the different categories. And this is what it's going to look like. Physically taking your money for the month and putting it into an allocated envelope. So this one is called entertainment. You make up an amount that you want to spend for the week, for the month, for entertainment, and you have to be intentional about it. So you're going to take that amount and you divide it over 4 weeks or 2 weeks. You plan how often you want to go out. So if you're putting it over 4 weeks, you're going to take that 4,000, you say 1,000 Rand a week. And that means physically getting your paper out and making a note. This is how much I have for the month, and this is how much I'm going to spend for this week. This is how much I'm going to spend for the second week, and this is how much I'm going to spend for the third week, and so on. So once you have your monthly envelopes, we then go a step further, and we put it into our weekly binder. And in this weekly binder consists of many different categories. If you're not sure of your variable expenses, pull out your bank statements. That's what we did. Things were popping up, and we're like, oh yeah, that's a variable expense. I didn't see that one coming. So we got intentional. We pulled out our bank statements. We looked at everything that was eating into our budget. And the main thing that was eating into us was groceries. I understand it was extremely expensive at the moment, but on a monthly basis, I was like, we're spending 5,000 for groceries. Why am I still going to the shops every other week and spending like an extra 1,000 Rand? So now I become intentional about it. I got a whole spreadsheet where I make a note of meals that we're cooking for the week. So it's max of 4 meals because I can go over 2 days. And on my grocery list, I go into my cupboard and I see what I need. If there's anything that I need, it's going on my list. If there's anything I don't, if there's things that I have, then perfect. We have to be intentional about it and to stay on budget. So if it's 1.5 per week, I make sure that I go on the app, because we're not going into stores, because once we see sales, we lose our mind. Something that happened just last week, my mom called me and she's like, hi Tan, I have 9 cans of beans. Would you like some? I was like, she lives by herself. I'm like, what are you doing with 9 cans of beans? She's like, every time I went to the shop, it was on sale. Guys, you don't need that thing that's on sale. Stay focused to the plan. If your meal for the week is 4 simple meals, you stick to that. If there's a sale, it's not your business. If you need that, you just get that one thing that you need, and that has helped us stay on track. We also keep an amount of 200. I know on social media people love to finish me. They're like, you spend 200 Rand on groceries? No, ma'am, I do not spend 200 Rand on groceries, but I always keep a 200 Rand extra if anything else pops up, because you know the children finish us with snacks. So once we completed with that, and we're intentional about it, we then go over to, people always say to me, actually, before I go on, is in this world where everything is so digital, why are you putting money into envelopes like we're back in the 70s? But there's something psychologically that happens to you when you have money on you. It's not as easy as tapping. If that wallet's at home, my envelope's at home, and I have nothing, I'm like, okay, I can't spend it because I did not plan for it. You have to plan. Planning is the most important step of the whole cash staffing method. If you don't start your month planning, consider the rest of the month that money is gone. And trust me, I know, I've been there. So then to go on, we go on to the debt snowball method. So the debt snowball method is simply paying your loans off from the smallest balance to the largest balance. Not the smallest installments or the smallest interest rate. That doesn't interest you. You focus on what's the smallest balance, because there's something that happens to you when you start paying off that smallest balance. I'm not saying don't pay your other debt. Please still pay the minimum amount on that debt, but you do whatever it takes to get yourself out of debt sooner. So when you're paying the first amount, just say you got 2 loans. One's 1,000 Rand balance and the second one is 2,000. But the installments on the first one and the second one is maybe 300 and the first one is 100. Yes, it would be tempting, actually the other way around, but it would be tempting to pay off the one with the smallest balance first. No, fixate on the one with the smallest one. Just something happened to us this month. A family member of ours knew of a certain loan that we had, and they came to us and they're like, about that loan, can we pay it off, you guys? Like, thank you, Lord. Of course you can. So they paid off that loan, and that installment was 1,100. That was actually the second loan that we were going on to. But our car is our first one because it's going to get paid off sooner, and that's 5,000. So now we have 6,100 because now we have an extra 1,000. There's something that happens, you get excited. I got a whole debt list. I got a little page where I got icons of whatever the debt is that we took out on. Sometimes it's a credit card, so I got cards all over. And as I'm going along throughout the month, I'm circling it, I'm coloring it in. It's getting me excited, like, oh, we finished pay that, fabulous. Going to my binder and I'm coloring it in. Yes, it may sound a bit childish, but there's something that happens to us because debt, we were born to be debt-free. We cannot live in debt. You don't understand the freedom that comes being debt-free. I can't speak on it as yet, but I've seen it, and that's the people I want to be. There's a guy named Dave Ramsey. There's something so special that he says is, live like no one else today, so late in life you can live like no one else. And that simply means do whatever it takes now to get yourself out of there. So when you're older, you can live amazingly. And you'll be debt-free. So just to go on, savings. There's at the moment, savings is not a priority. I mean, we're not in a position to be saving. Our sole focus is paying off debt. But we created a little savings challenge. The first one we did is called a savings challenge, an emergency fund. And what this simply means that we keep a minimum of 1,000 rand in it. And this just means that we won't go back into debt. We don't have to borrow. So if anything comes up throughout the month, we can go into that. We keep it in the bank so it can grow interest, but we go into it and we pull it out, but we make sure at the end of the next month or when we get paid again that we're filling it up again. It has to stay full. It's our safety net. If anything happens, we can fall on it and be secure. So once we completed with our safety net, we didn't have I got a 5,500 Rand challenge. And this means that at the end of every week, now that we have our weekly binders, if there's money left over, that goes into a savings challenge. It's not going over to next week. But now it's become such a thing with me and my husband that we are like, oh, how much do you have left this month? Now we like, how much do you have left this week? And it's like, oh, it's almost Friday. Do I really need to? I mean, I can put it in the savings challenge. That's how intentional we've become. It's become a little game. We have to find the joy in paying off this debt. It's the most draining thing, trust me. Since Wendy touched on this about ignoring the bank's calls, they are literally family at this point, and I just say, yeah, family's calling, because that's how over it I am. Not a proud moment. So at the end of every week, you check in those binders and see how much do I have left, and you put it into that envelope. It's something you wouldn't have done if you were tapping all the time, but now you've become so intentional about this cash that you're holding on to, but it's going to something that's purposeful. So the last point, and I'll be doing a disservice if I didn't let you know that money is spiritual, and it took us a long and hard road to understand that, and only when we understood it did money start making sense, that it was never ours to begin with. Yes, it's a reward that you receive at the end of every month for your hard work that you put in, but when you understand who's the ultimate rewarder, you look at it differently. If you read the parable of the talents, he will only entrust you with more if you show him that you can steward what he has given you. You don't want him to take it away from you. So whatever, if you forget everything else I say today, remember that it's not ours. We are managing someone else's resources. So I just want to say thank you for today, and I hope you'll all get onto this. Thank you.
Oh man, I do want a round of applause. Please give me hand, thumbs up, reaction, something online, because wow, I don't think I've ever been excited about debt. I didn't think we were allowed to be excited about debt, but I think even just the excitement made me realize that the intentionality of it takes away the shame,
yes,
takes away the guilt that we often carry, which then, other people abandon their journey because they feel so overwhelmed. I got 2 questions for you, and maybe it's a binder, you don't know. So I've got 2 questions for a lucky prize. The one question is, just drop her handle for me, please. I told you at the start that she's on social media and she shares these tips daily and her journey, and maybe we can track her progress. So if you remember Tennille's handle, at the da-da-da, and then I could give away a prize. And then I wanted to play around with some of the nuggets, but we'll make an easy one. We all cringed and felt sorry for her at the start. What is Tennille's profession? Because that, for me, was the first highlight, that really, no matter where you are in your journey, I say profession because she works a full-time job. It is a full-time job. I could hint, it doesn't pay very well, but it is also so rewarding. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I was going to ask like tricky questions because we often hear that, you know, I did say at the start, and I'll keep repeating this is financial literacy. This is financial education. But for financial advice, you will need to visit, as Usis Wendy mentioned, some of the experts. Just make sure that they are registered and not scammers that take advantage of your vulnerability. But so that's the disclaimer. Keep it in mind that while there are invaluable tools that we can take away today, your journey is unique to you, and you're going to have to seek professional advice to get yourself out of there. But we often would hear that, you know, when you're tackling debt, go for the highest interest first, like the one with the highest interest. I love starting from the smallest balance, because when you said that, I already felt momentum. Yeah. Because there is something about a sense of accomplishment when you break those little tasks again and you complete one. Yeah. And that snowball effect can obviously happen. And you didn't talk about it, but I think I keep hearing discipline from our keynote address to what you're saying. It takes some level of discipline. That's a muscle we're going to have to develop. Because if I got extra 1,000 rand, YOLO, you live once, you know, money, debt is forever, life comes once. There's that temptation, you know, I need to reward myself, this body that works so hard, I need to reward it. But how do I develop that discipline? You know, I got into this debt because I lacked it to begin with. And some people start and they have a bit of a paraffin steam and then it blows over. How have you kept the discipline to just keep going?
To be honest, it hasn't been easy. We have fell short so many times. On this journey, we've even been back into debt. So it's something that you have to keep going at it, even when it's hard and we just feel like we're so over this. No, you got to get back and like, listen, this is the one thing that was helping us. You know, we were intentional about it, and every cent had a home. You know, it didn't mean we were finishing all the money, but we were intentional. Even when we bought a debt again, we're intentional about that too. It's like, Lord, just us, you know, I'm tired. But yeah, you have to be intentional about it. Get it down to 0 every month. Make sure every single, and then you go back the next month. You see, what did I budget and what did I spend? You know, you'll be able to check, okay, I'm spending too much here. What can I do? You know, even if it's entertainment, you have to learn to say no. That was our biggest thing. You can't get onto every boat. It was like, oh, this one's doing this. Yes, the vacation. No, you don't need it, darling. Get out of debt. You know, do whatever it takes to get out of debt.
Oh, I'm going to have some phrases. You can't get onto every boat.
No.
Because we never get to our destination. We hop off on this one. And then the one I need to drill in and take home is, if there's a sale, Mpumi, it's none of your business. Say it with me. If there's a sale and you know you're in debt, it has nothing to do with you. Again, that takes a level of discipline. Do you have a deadline for completing this debt? Because someone said to me recently, a goal without a deadline is not even a plan.
Yeah. So my husband and I created an extremely unrealistic goal, and it's 5 years. Ooh. Because it's not ours. It's God's, and he's going to come in and take over. I mean, he's already started. Someone just paid it off for 1 day. So I can't imagine what he's going to do going forward. So that's all I'm waiting on.
At that rate.
I just got to show him that I'm disciplined and I can manage it. And the rest he's going to do.
At that rate, I think we will track your journey at that handle to find out how Tennille and her family are doing on that journey. Now, I'm going to get those questions or those answers and see who our winners are, because we are going to go to our panel. We've got a panel of more experts, and I did mention that they're coming from different sectors. I'm going to go to the 2 ladies we have online, and 2 ladies are joining me in studio, and I'm excited to continue our conversation with our panel. And while they get ready to join me in studio and online, perhaps I'm going to start with the ladies that are with me here today and share a bit about their journey, just to give you a picture of who is in the room. If you thought we have served starters the main course is about to come. We still have dessert for you. By the end of this webinar, you are going to be absolutely unstoppable, and we're going to be making bold money moves. On that note, she might not be any stranger to those on the social media space. The teachers know her, and those who know her will start asking me about STDs. So I said, Pumui, how did we get there? Stick around, you'll find out. She currently serves as the Executive Director of the South African Credit and Risk Reporting Association, that is Memachauda Mphahlele, and she's responsible for setting the credit and risk reporting standards and managing the Central Data Transmission Hub, which is the system through which credit and risk information is submitted to the Credit Bureau in compliance with the National Credit Act. Speaking of which, SACRA is a voluntary industry body whose members are banks, micro-lenders, non-bank credit providers, no, not your mashonisas, clothing and furniture retailers, insurers and telecommunications companies. I know people are borrowing, asking to borrow money to make phone calls. When you load the airtime, you first have to pay back that loan on your phone. As Chajan, this is a safe space. By the end of this webinar, we're changing our patterns, we're changing our ways. Now, prior to joining the South African SACRA, Memachauda served as the chairperson and then later the ombudswoman for the Consumer Goods and Services Ombuds Office. The CGSO is an alternative dispute resolution scheme for the consumer goods and services industry. I mentioned this because I said nothing goes past my panel. Nothing. They've heard it all the excuses, they've heard all the stories. If you are thinking, shame Wumi, they've heard it and even worse. And to continue with her illustrious career, the CGSO mediates disputes between suppliers of goods and services and their consumers. Her extensive experience in credit and general consumer protection spans more than 25 years. She has served as an adjudicator at the Gauteng Rental Tribunal, National Consumer Tribunal, and Gauteng Consumer Court. The Consumer Protection Act and National Credit Act were conceptualized, consulted on, and passed into law under her leadership as the Consumer Law Reform Project Manager at the Department of Trade. Memachauda holds an honors degree in applied linguistics and postgraduate diploma in English education from Wits University. In 2018, she completed the International Executive Development Program in Developmental Finance offered by Wits University. Do you want your whole CV?
No.
It's the book. She earned it. She currently holds the following non-executive director positions: board member of the National Financial Ombudsman Scheme, which is an amalgamation of the banking, credit, short and long-term insurance ombuds offices. I will park it there because you can Google her. Even if you Google Dimamzo, there'll be plenty. You'll be surprised. The avid gardener. I do have with me in studio, I will give her a nickname by the end of this. When I said nothing goes past my panel, I meant nothing. I'm sure Molalo will embrace the no-nonsense financial chick because she's about that. Everything written down. Molalo is a certified financial planner by profession and a member of the Financial Planning Institute of Southern Africa. She is a commissioner in the Commissioner for Gender Equality. She has won numerous awards, including Mail and Guardian Top 200, FPI Diversity and Inclusion Award, and Ideal Authentic Leader Award by Young Leaders Connect. She is a fellow for the 2025 Mandela Washington Fellowship. She holds a postgraduate diploma in financial planning from Mill Park Education and a Bachelor of Commerce in Financial Accounting from the University of Cape Town. She's looking at me like, are you still talking about me? Yes. I stopped there because sometimes we mention accolades in passing, and what we don't take into consideration is what it takes to be amongst those that are given that accolade. There are people who will tell you even just applying for the Mandela Washington Fellowship is like your dissertation, another master's, just to get in. So to be selected amongst thousands and thousands of applicants, that's why I had to pause for a moment there. and then we continue. She also completed the Executive Development Program with Duke Corporate Education and International Women's Forum, South Africa. With extensive experience in private banking, business banking, and financial planning, Molalo is a passionate advocate for financial literacy and women empowerment. She is dedicated to equipping individuals and communities with knowledge to make informed financial decisions, down to before you say I do. As the president of Empowered Women, a non-profit organization focused on women's rights and empowerment, Molalo leads initiatives aimed at empowering, educating, and celebrating women. She does this through I'm Empowered. Empowered. There's a play on the word, being empowered as a woman. And they have a book club, a network of over 500 women committed to their personal development through literacy. And she's here today. We're going to try and unpack all of that. I do have my two panelists online, if we can go to them as well. Do I have them on my screen? Yes. All right. Okay, maybe I'll come back to them online. I've got Pearl and Buhle online. Can I just start with the two ladies in studio here? It's intimidating. 25 years ago, I was in primary school. I was excited for just pocket money. Now I need to be managing salaries. Mama Khauta, when did you even think of journeying into empowering other women? And I ask this maybe to give reference. There was a time when I met you, you were passionate about teachers. And I wondered why teachers in particular. So when did your journey of not only empowering yourself, but recognizing the need to help people get out of debt and manage debt?
I think it started when I graduated from university, because, that's when you start earning money. And, my experience then clearly showed to me that it was a lonely journey. I learned the hard lessons on my own. The first time I had a check account that came with an overdraft. I didn't know what an overdraft is. So I remember one day I used that overdraft unknowingly, and then one day I saw a minus on my statement, and then I went to the bank and I said, what is this minus thing? And the bank said, no, you owe us. And I was like, what? Yeah, so and then my father passed away and we had no insurance, and I had to use whatever. I was doing part-time jobs, and I was a lecturer at that time, a junior lecturer at Vets. So those experiences, made me aware that, if there's no one out there who's talking to you, who's holding your hand, who's giving you information, you really make some serious money mistakes. So, yeah, I became passionate there.
From money mistakes, I'm going to go to Molalo. As an activist, when we talk about financial literacy, I think sometimes it's even in the language that we use when we talk about money and financial wellness that gets overwhelming for women from different walks of life. So in your journey, how does financial literacy empower women beyond just managing money? Because sometimes I'm thinking, the little nyana that I have, I can make money and then I'm happy to spend it. My area of improvement is keeping it and growing it.
Thank you very much. When it comes to managing finances, one needs to decide where the starting point is and then where they want to go. So when you have that freedom to make those choices, it's easier to go beyond managing money. Yeah. I wanted to correct you when you started there to say just managing money. Managing money is everything.
It's not just.
It's not just. And I always say that every decision is a financial decision because the decisions that we make as women always have finances attached to it. When you can manage money, going beyond means making better life choices. It can be choices in your education, in your career, and also choosing the family that you want, because most of the women, because they're not financially literate, they don't have the power that comes with money, then they have other people choose for them the family that they want. And it's very heartening when you listen to those stories. But now we just say, where are you starting from and where do you want to go? When I teach financial literacy, it's not just financial literacy, it's positive financial literacy. Because I say, yes, the stories that we hear is that money only says 3 days in your bank account and then it's done. But no one is coming to you and patting you at the back or asking you to pat yourself in the back and asking you, did you pay the school fees? Did you put fuel on your car? Did you buy groceries? And then well done on doing that. Yes, there is debt, but what are we doing to move from where we're starting from to where we want to go? Some of the choices that women can make, it's leadership decisions and starting in businesses, because when you don't have to worry about where the next money is coming from, then you are free to even raise your hand in spaces where you would not, because most women, when they are told to get into work and do something about their lives, it's always volunteering. It's always being pushed to non-profit spaces, but no one is saying you can do so much more. You can start and run a successful business. You can take up a role in leadership, more especially when you were introducing her. I was like, yo, board member. No one is talking about those things, but when you have money, you can say, I can do this because I've got the skills, the expertise, without worrying about where the next meal will come from.
Oh. When you said meal, you reminded me what I left out of her CV. Gardener, chef, host, listen. And she's got the time to do all of that because of the financial decisions she made, right? I've got Pearl on the line. Pearl Mapumolo is a Pan-African entrepreneur, a strategist, and an ecosystem builder working at the intersection of policy, innovation, and grassroots enterprise. With over a decade of experience, she brings deep expertise in supporting MSMEs and building inclusive value chains and designing strategic interventions for sustainable enterprise growth. She is also a founding director for the Business Development Agency, and Pearl has led projects with institutions such as the World Bank Group, AUAPRM, and the Department of Science and Innovation, Johannesburg Business School, and innovation hubs like Chumulogong. Yabona ke mpumukhuluma Swati nibokhumbula. Doslungisa phela. And her work goes her work spans across communities and especially women-led. I think her focus on entrepreneurship development, market access, and financial inclusion, particularly for underserved communities and women-led businesses. She currently supports a consortium of academics in commercializing a digital platform aimed at enabling product and service traders to access digital markets more effectively. Pearl previously served on the board of the Nkangala Economic Development Agency, contributing to local enterprise and youth development strategies. She is completing her master's in entrepreneurship at Wits Business School, and I think we've got Pearl on the line. I'm going to leave it here for now. I've got some questions. Yay! Hi. Nkangala is my home. Pearl, before we get into it, Mulalo spoke about Sis Magauta being on boards, and what I'm picking up, all the women here are studying. They are, building their academics, and they're in business, and the stay-at-home mom is managing not just money, everything, if money is everything. Let's talk about women scaling, because it's one thing to, I'm coping with my family, I'm coping with myself, and maybe I can afford to go on that holiday, but how often do we see women branching out from small business and scaling up and employing and having the vision to bring more women on board?
Check, with technology. So thank you so much for that, Mpumelelo. Glad to hear that Nkangala is your home. I also grew up in Malahleni, in Mpumalanga.
We lost the audio there, Pearl. I don't know if it's just me. Everyone else can hear? Thumbs up. Pearl, you can. Oh, thumbs up. We can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. All right, thank you. Okay, thank you so much. I see the other thumbs up. Thank you very much. And thank you for that question. I did note when you said Nkangala is your home. I grew up in Malahleni, actually in Mpumalanga as well. So yeah, it probably doesn't appear anywhere, but that's literally where I grew up. Primary, high school, all of that happened there. So your question about strategies for scaling, for entrepreneurs. So in my mind, at least, I'm hearing the question, scaling from local to regional, global markets. Also because that's the space that I play in. So scaling a business, is always the leap from surviving to thriving. And it's even harder when your business, sort of is also your main source of income. The scaling is possible, and if we focus on 3 strategies, which I'll mention just now, it is possible. The first one is markets, money, and mindset. I think, also just quite a bit of what I'll say will almost be like a golden thread to what has already been mentioned by the other speakers as well. So the first part about markets, growth requires moving beyond just your local customers, right? So many times you find entrepreneurs or businesses or startups thinking, my community must just support me, please guys support me, etc. But there are bigger markets, that entrepreneurs, especially those who are startups, should also start thinking about. Corporate supply chains are one. Export is actually something that is actually, maybe something that might not immediately come to the minds of people who are, starting up. But when you think about even the history of, trading or exporting between borders, informal traders, women, we have seen that, being done for many, 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 many decades, right? So you can transform your business, but those opportunities, often come with costs, especially when you're doing it, from a formal perspective. There's compliance, there's logistics, there's marketing, and all of those things, and you have to have a plan and a budget for them. And you don't just stumble on those opportunities. And maybe that's just a weave in also from the keynote speaker. The second part about money, scaling requires capital. And here financial savviness is very critical. Entrepreneurs who succeed are those who have a mix and match of funding, creativity. So thinking about supply credit, thinking about community savings, thinking about crowdfunding, or even partnerships that may not necessarily be monetary, but would allow you an ability or runway to afford or to have access to certain things that would have cost you money. So entrepreneurs need to sort of treat every rand like an employee. It must have a job, it must be tracked, and it must deliver value. And so when you start thinking about money or rands, in that sense, but also again, downsizing personal spending is a very critical thing that I've also seen, just big mistakes that entrepreneurs would actually make, and then redirecting those savings ultimately that you would have gained from downsizing, into saving, into the business. It is one of the hardest things, but most effective strategies to unlock growth, and really practical, right? You don't have to have any grandiose, things happening in the background, but just downsizing personal spending is really a game changer. The third mindset, or the third part, the strategy that I mentioned about mindset, your mindset is about survival. Your finances will always reflect. If your mindset is always about survival, or if you're thinking survival all the time, your finances will actually reflect exactly that. A scaling mindset, I will tell you, is treating your books as a growth strategy. As what our keynote speaker sort of mentioned, you don't treat it as just administration or admin. It means building systems very early. So what do I mean by that? Tracking your sales, digitizing your stock, automating your payments, all of these things that you could almost do almost immediately or very early in your business. It also means commercializing your skills, whether this means baking, whether this means if you have some sort of ability. I don't know how my younger sisters and younger people than me who are in their early 20s are so great at social media marketing. I'm standard, but it seems like everybody especially I'm a 2000 are so skilled at this. But how about starting to think about monetizing this, right? If you're good at bookkeeping, think about that. Generate extra income, that ultimately supports your household while your business reinvests, for growth. And one of the startups, just, to end, my submission to you, maybe to make an example, there's a startup that I once supported, in some of my past work, who was from a township. So the founder used to pay personal expenses directly from the business coffers, which is a common reality and a common issue that a lot of entrepreneurs face. But once she digitized her sales and her stock, she then could see her true margins. That separation of personal and business money literally gave her the numbers, sort of to approach investors, with confidence. And today she's actually preparing to scale, onto a digital marketplace. One of the things that I'm also, or spaces at least that I'm busy with right now at the moment. And her success, I just want to, just submit is that it wasn't luck. But it was as a result of discipline, the systems that I've mentioned, but also consistent reinvestment. So in a nutshell, my advice is this: yes, pursue for the bigger markets, but be creative about money, and expand your mindset. Finance is not a back office, of your business. It literally is the engine, and the glue that literally holds everything together. So consistency in budgeting, reinvesting, and building networks also, is what, turning, is what could literally turn your side hustle into something resilient, to a business that is resilient and actually really scalable. So I'll just stop there, with my submission, but to say thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, you are going nowhere. It's a full conversation. Stay right there. I have so many questions, but I think I want to tie it in with you spoke much about scaling, and just using your background as someone leading in both African business development and the global startup 20 platform. What do you believe young women entrepreneurs in particular need to do to position themselves better for international trade and investment opportunities?
Sure, fantastic. And thank you for that question. So again, let me start maybe with the reality, or emphasis on the reality, that entrepreneurs, they struggle with personal survival and business growth. And I like to emphasize this a lot because, as had also read in my profile, I've worked quite a lot in the grassroots sort of arena, right? So it's a very tough context, that we sort of exist in. However, if we are to position ourselves for international trade as well as investment, we must build systems, again, that sort of help us rise above the survival and prepare for scale. So for me, again, it also comes down to three things specifically on this question: it's capabilities, it's credibility, and connectivity, right? And all of these, I can tell you right now, are not separated, but they're literally underpinned by, financial discipline. Capabilities, for example, your budget is your first business plan. Consciously deciding, how you spend every single rand that you get as a business, as an entrepreneur, whether it is, to improve your packaging, getting compliance certificates, building digital visibility. It literally is what makes your business trade ready. Especially in today's economy, a digital presence, as well as financial literacy, are critical passports, for global opportunities. The second, credibility, that I had mentioned. Trade partners, and investors, they don't just want a great product. I think this we kind of have an idea about, we know. They want proof that you, as an entrepreneur, the founder, can actually manage the money and scale sustainably, right? And that means separating, again, the finances, your business interests, as well as your personal interests, as well, and keeping accurate records, having a plan for how this money will be used to create wealth. I think that, the keynote speaker mentioned something about, creating an investment plan and having strategies for creating wealth. And again, this weaves into the credibility that I'm speaking about right now as well. So credibility is not just the product itself, but the financial story that you can show behind this amazing product that you have built. The third, connectivity, that I'm speaking about. International opportunities, they flow through networks. I have learned over the years. So being plugged into whether chambers, accelerators, cross-border platforms, really does position you for opportunities, Nompumelelo. And this is where, opportunities essentially are brokered. And at the G20, one of the G20 working groups that I'm a part of, called the Startup 20, we had a midterm engagement in July. and ecosystem, players or leaders in that space highlighted the new tools like digital trade passports and inclusive finance, mechanisms that are being developed. But they will only work for entrepreneurs who are already disciplined and connected enough to use them. Again, to leverage from the keynote speaker, there are principles that you learn from a very early stage that you are able then to carry on even as you have grown. Things don't just happen out of the blue or all of a sudden. I worked with a young woman. I'll make another example. There's a young woman from Mpumalanga at some point that I worked with who was selling locally developed products. In the beginning of her journey, every cent went to household survival. And she had to make deliberate choices really to downsize. I mean, there are things that you cannot really postpone, as you're starting out and your business is your only source of income. You can't postpone eating. You can't postpone a roof over your head. If you have children, you can't postpone school fees. There's certain things. But she started, implementing certain strategies that would enable her to be more conscious on downsizing, things that were not necessarily, needs, but they were wants. And then she started reinvesting that money into certification, into packaging of her stuff and all of that. And within a period of time, she was then able to distribute into neighboring markets, just right here in the SACU countries. Because, sometimes we look at Lesotho, Botswana, the SACU countries as though they're so far. But they're literally just, next door. Her product didn't change. Emphasis, I just want to emphasize, the product did not change. It was great in the beginning. What changed were her financial habits. And that's how capabilities, credibility, as well as the connectivity that I mentioned, that are grounded in financial discipline, by the way, unlock international opportunities in a very practical and non-grandiose way.
Pearl, please don't go. I don't know what or who's fast forwarding the time today, but clearly, and I hear you say no, from here on going forward. Because it suddenly has meaning. I know the meaning of my name, but when you said it, I was like, oh, actually, I remembered what it means. But I've got another panelist online with us, and I want to just quickly go to Ubuhle, and then I'm going to ask in the meantime, because I'm going to go to the chat to check those that answered the question, or at least attempted. Look, today, you get a book, everybody gets a book. So if you made an attempt, at least, it could be a parting, a takeaway note that really resonated with you. Do share that. Somebody might have hopped on to the webinar and had missed that point. So sometimes we hear differently because it resonates differently from different people. So what I will ask from my panelists that have spoken is a parting shot, and it is, if you had to give advice to 18-year-old you who had not started earning any income, one tip of advice that you would want or you wish somebody had told you at 18, or a mistake that you made in those early 20s that you probably learned and paid for it. But please just keep that in mind, whether it's in business, career, all of it impacted or affected our financial journey. And while you think on that, I will ask our next guest, Buhle, to come on. She is a chartered accountant and a deal maker in the strategic partnerships team at First National Bank, where she works to support small businesses through innovative partnerships that expand access to tools, products, and financial solutions. With 6 years experience in banking, including payments, leverage finance, investment banking, and small business ecosystems, she is passionate about unlocking growth for entrepreneurs, particularly in the area of payments and access to funding. She studied at the University of Pretoria, graduating cum laude and receiving several academic awards in recognition of her academic achievements. To deepen her expertise in payment, Buhle recently obtained a certificate in foundational payments and an advanced certificate in
electronic payments from the Payments Association of South Africa. She's a founder in the natural skincare industry. And Buhle brings a heads-on perspective
to the realities of running a business. She believes entrepreneurship is a lifelong learning journey, and one that is humbling, challenging, and deeply rewarding. Beyond her passion and business ventures, she's committed to amplifying conversations around women entrepreneurs, and has contributed to thought leadership on how women can shape the future of business and technology. So Buhle, I'm a bit, because
we think the banks don't want to give us money. the banks just reject. But as a businesswoman, you
Yes.
wear different hats, so you yourself
Would know
would know
why. Some women can't break through. I know one friend I can hear in my
ear saying compliance, boom, and comply, and the paperwork. So let's start there. When moving from maybe I have a brilliant idea, I have a informal trade sort of business, but I really feel now what Pearl has said, I want to be ready for when the opportunities come, whether investment or scaling. What are some of the common mistakes that this woman does coming to the bank? Brilliant idea, but does not get approved for funding or financing.
Thank you, Bumi, or should I rather say Nompumelelo. I think it's a brilliant question, and it's actually quite topical. And I think also myself being a business owner, where I started my business as a side hustle doing natural skincare, and having seen how it's then grown, when you speak to the points that Paul has raised in terms of when you start scaling your business. I think what's very important, and I think how to look at how institutions and funders then look at a business. I think there are many foundations which the ladies have spoken to today that are also relevant and applicable in the business sense when we speak to planning, when we're speaking to goal setting. But I think the biggest thing that we need as a bank is we need to know your story as a business. And for us to know that is for us to have visibility on your business. So when we speak about visibility, I think Paul mentioned it, the importance of firstly separating personal and business. That's very, very important, because I think we get a different picture when everything is combined versus when everything is separate. So when it comes to managing your business income, separating personal and finance businesses is very important, and there are tools that can help you do that. There are certain accounting packages that can help you do that. The banks are also partnering with the accounting platforms to make it easier for that information to flow into those accounting packages. The importance of having a registered business when we look at going from an informal perspective to a more formal perspective, registering your business and understanding the compliance obligations that you have once your business is registered. There are tax implications. There are implications in terms of ensuring that your business still shows up as registered. So there are annual returns from a CIP perspective that you need to keep up with. And I think the importance, and when we come to say we want to have visibility in your business, a lot of our businesses still operate in a very cash reliant ecosystem. But I think it's not to say that you are then excluded when you rely on cash in your business. What's then important is that ensuring you then deposit that cash for the bank to see that from a daily perspective, we see that the lady Otengisa Amagwinya, she makes so much a day and so much a week. And from that, they're then able to fund, because I think what the banks are looking to do is it's also make it easier for customers to access funding. I think a lot of business owners would have seen that we're moving from application perspective, especially in the smaller business ecosystem sizes, we're moving from the applications to pre-approved offers. And that essentially means that the bank can see your trading history. As long as you're digitizing your cash flows, they can see that, and they can say, hi, listen, you don't even have to apply. I can tell you what you are pre-approved for. So I think a lot of times when people are looking for that funding, it's important that they still have the basics there when it comes to the financial disciplines, the habits of doing your books, seeing what how much you actually make, having discipline in terms of invoicing as well. I think, a lot of businesses are also running their business on the go. So you're selling stuff and then, oh, I must remember to invoice my customer, but being disciplined to invoice, because then you have a sense of knowing what is the cash flow in your company. If you know there are certain debit orders or certain subscriptions that you pay for, it's important to know am I expecting money from my customers to be able to cover the expenses in my business. So I think the biggest takeaway, and what I just want to keep front of mind for everyone, is that digitize your business. Let the bank know your story. I think they can't lend to you if they don't know the story of your business.
Now, Buhle, I gave everybody an opportunity to think about advice that they would give to their 18-year-old self. I don't know if it's your looks that deceive me, but that journey was so quick for you. So I'm going to ask you to rather share what's your boldest money move. I mean,
yes.
Okay, you're
yes.
You are definitely in that sector.
Yes, I think the boldest money move I want to speak to was probably recently. I actually went to go watch Beyonce in London. I treated myself. But I think when I made the decision, I was like, girl, this is bold of you. But I think what's important to understand was it was not an impulsive decision. I think when she first went on tour, I was caught unaware and didn't have my story in order, my financial story in order. And I promised myself, since I missed that one and I knew another one was coming up and I had 2 years to save for it, I promised myself I wasn't going to miss it. So there was a lot of planning that went into it in terms of what could I do to be able to travel comfortably for that week. But it was a 2-year journey. And, what that then meant is that I was made sure to say I'm for those 2 years, not just for those 2 years, but the principles in terms of living below your means. So I had a goal that I wanted to achieve. I knew what the amount was going to be, but then I had to change my current daily spending habits and just mentality that I had towards money to say, I have a goal. This is how I'm going to achieve it. And I was very strict on myself and very disciplined. And that also meant I had to miss out on the other things that were coming up much closer because I had a bigger goal. So I think, how we always speak about having FOMO, but there is also a concept called JOMO, which is the joy of missing out, because I had a bigger vision. And I think it's very nice that to get to a point where you are also able to treat yourself for all the hard work that you do. But I think doing that with a plan is then what makes it even more enjoyable.
Oh my goodness. Yes, we're all jealous. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And was it a worth it week?
It was absolutely amazing. I still replay the videos.
There was no need for you to agree. You could have said, no, for me, it wasn't all that. Oh, yeah, I tell you. Wow. Oh my goodness. Okay, so now I'm excited about it. And I'm also discovering there's joy in missing out. Yeah. And Nimvile, it took her 2 years. She didn't make a loan to go see Beyonce. And while Beyonce's making money, she's back home having to repay that loan with interest. No. Okay, but let's have on. Thank you. So, on that jealous note, the moms, it's one thing to avoid the creditors, our debtors when they are phoning. You preach a whole new sermon on us going to dig up and find out about the people we owe. Why is it important for us to understand our credit score, know it, and manage? And how does that help us manage our debts?
Exactly. The issue is about managing. So you can't manage something that you don't know, you are not aware of. So a lot of us get a surprise when we go and apply for credit and we get rejected. And it's like, wow, okay, there are issues in it. Personally, I monitor it to ensure that I'm not overextending myself in terms of the credit that I have. Number two, that my credit profile is correct. So you would find that there is information that is prescribed in your profile. You'll find that there is information that is incorrect. You'll find that there is information that is fraudulent because people do steal our identities. And talking of small businesses, if you apply, you need to have a clean credit record. And it's an emotional thing, it's not about the physical thing of going to look at it. A lot of us are afraid to see what is in there. But you know what? You need to deal with those emotional aspects, look at it, and then sit down and say, there is a problem and I am going to fix it. Yeah, so don't wait, because if you wait, then also the problems escalate. So very important to be mindful of what's happening. It's like budgeting. On a monthly basis, I check my budget. How did I spend this month? Did I buy a ticket to go see a show and I didn't have the money? It's the same principle, what you can't see, you can't manage. So look at it and manage it.
I'm going to go to Malalo because she spoke about every decision has a financial impact.
Yes.
And when you talk about STDs, that's a decision we make.
That is transmitted then. Yes.
That has serious financial implications on us, even in just our relationships,
marriages, all of these things, like Mulalo says, have financial implications.
All right, and I'm going to her, but on your parting shot, what is the one piece of advice that you wish 18-year-old Mahauta knew?
For me, we're talking about money. To have money, you have to make money. And how do you make money? Your attitude, how you manage yourself, not living for other people, right? No peer pressure. You need to have a plan. And you need to have a career. You need to build a business. So take care of those issues and educate yourself about finances. Don't just spend time on TikTok looking at people dancing. That won't help you. So go out there. Yeah. Go out there. The information is there. Empower yourself with knowledge and make the right decisions, like Mulalo said.
Malalo, the information is there in the books, in the webinars, and something Tennille said that her realization was also that money is not just in the logic, because if it was, we would write a budget, stick to it, tell the money where to go. At the end of the month, we know where the money went, and we also go to watch Beyonce. But there's something lacking. As a financial planner, I'm pretty sure you come across the common blockages or the common, hurdles. We think it's different whether you're earning a stipend, a salary, or you're back to your stipend. What are maybe simple but yet powerful tools that you want women to use to stay on top of their finances?
The most powerful tool that you can use is a budget. And this has been taught so many times, but people don't go further to say which type of budget is the right one for me. Because yes, budgeting is about income and expenses, and then finding out if there's a deficit or a surplus. But you must ask yourself, what is it that I want from my money?
Yeah.
And then choose. There's the zero-based budget where you're allocating each and every single cent to something. And when you do that, if you know that you earn 10,000 and then your budget needs 8,000, so before you even do that, you take the 2,000, put it aside. You're working from 8,000 because everything that you need to achieve will be accounted for on that 8,000. Even if Monaro comes and says, "Tell 500 rand," you're not going to give Monaro 500 rand because
you have it.
But it's allocated to something. Sometimes we give people that money because we did not allocate it to something. If I was operating from the 10,000, then I would know I have 2,000, and then I can give Morero 500 from the 2,000. But with us, if you know that everything is accounted for, you're not going to give that person the 500 that they are asking for. There is the aspect of the envelope. They spoke about it. So that's another way in which you can budget. Some people prefer physical envelopes, other people do it digitally. But the same aspect is to ensure that you know where your money is going. Because budgeting, we always say it's not about wondering where your money went, but it's telling it where to go. And then there is also a value-based budget where you're saying, where am I getting the most value? Depending on where you are in your life stage, then you can decide this is where my money needs to go. Because value is what you put on the money. For me, 100 Rand could mean getting a bolt. For other person, it's 12.5 kg of millimil. For someone, it's coffee and a croissant. So value, what do you value the most? And then you allocate your money so that at the end of the day, the emotion that comes with how you spend the money then gives you that peace that you need. Speaking about emotions and borrowing people money, people always talk about self-care. I go do this, I go do that for myself. But when you talk about finances, there's also the aspect of self-hate. Women don't like it when I say that because I say if you are in debt and you're borrowing people money, you're prioritizing the other person, which simply means you are hating yourself. You're not prioritizing the goals that you've put down for yourself. Wait, there's self-love and then there's self-hate. Self-love, you're spending money on yourself, and then self-hate, you're spending money on other people when you've got things that are noted as your goals that you should be spending your money on. And there's this thing where people will be like, but if the bank does not want to borrow Mraro money, who are you to borrowing Mraro money? I want to say it.
Okay, I'm taking liberty because we had a hiccup in the start, so we can go a little over our time, and I hope you'll stay with us because we still have those giveaways, and I'm going to also be looking at some of the questions that you may have while we have our panel with us as I go back. Oh my goodness. Self-hate. Hey, Bangan Bam, they knows that you will hear it coming out of my mouth. My brother actually once said something, you know, that thing was, but you have it, you know, whether it's family or friends, the concern is, oh, but they know you have it, right? I saw you are busy, you are working, therefore you have money. And those friends and relatives that will phone you. About 7 month end. Yes, well, so then he said to me, never borrow someone money you can't gift to them. Because even if they say, Morado, I'll bring it back on the 31st of August, and you give them, say, petrol money that you would use. Come the 31st, Morado doesn't give you that 500 Rand. It strains relationships. Yeah. Friendships have ended. Families are not speaking to each other because that day will come. And then if they're unable to, because you weren't in a position to gift them that, then you find yourself now having to fix other problems. So self-hate, my new word. And because she mentioned the different types of budgets, it's just a reminder to say what we have today at the webinar. Unstoppable You is about financial education. You would have to visit Momorado to really sit down and get advice tailored for you and where you are in your journey. I'm going back to Pearl, because I want to hear her say Nompumelelo one time, but also to just find out from you the piece of advice as your parting shot that you would have to. You mentioned your younger sister about monetization. Mark, abantu out to Facebook. What piece of advice would you tell 18-year-old Pearl?
Sure, thank you, Nompumelelo. So if I could give my 18-year-old self financial advice, I'd say first separate your money early. I think I expanded on this a little bit earlier, particularly because I started my hustling or my business, exercising my business from a very young age. So if you're running, a small side hustle, never mix your personal and business. I would say this, separate accounts, pay yourself properly, have discipline. And the second thing also that I wish I knew back then is be consistent, even with small amounts. At 18, I thought saving or reinvesting only mattered when the numbers were big, but it's the habit that matters. even setting aside a small amount every single month, sort of creates that discipline of treating money as a tool and not just something to spend. So that consistency is what eventually compounds into resilience and scale. And so I would say that to my 18-year-old self, be consistent even with small amounts.
Thank you so much. It starts here. What's in a journey of 1,000 miles starts with just one step. And I hope today you will begin and take your first step, no matter how scary or deep in the hole you think you are. If you listen throughout from our MD, Mrs. Bori, to our keynote address, Ma'am Wendy, to my panelists, I think the recurring message is one, face it, first step. Face it, acknowledge it, and then take just one step, one in front of the other. And when I think of financial fitness, the physical fitness discipline comes in, because I can't imagine how you would be consistent without that discipline. Have you ever tried to train a race? You start off with steam and the goal is clear, and then the legs get heavy. But if you keep doing it, you're shocked at how the same journey that took you an hour to run, just a 3 kilometer, you can do it in 30 minutes. And then your pace picks up. I imagine your journey with whether you're tackling debt or investing or growing your savings, or whatever your goal is right now, treat it the same way. And and I have a 2 minutes to get some of my question from Sriletso. So if you send a question or a comment, you are in my lucky bag of giveaways. I've got books, and so we have a quiz. If you look onto your screen, we're going to have our quiz questions up. It is a limited opportunity. Some opportunities, if you miss it, walala wasala, it's gone. So fast fingers, we've got our quiz up. Oh, our quiz is on the chat. Are you in the chat? I'm not in the chat. I'm on the screen. Please click onto the chat. The link to the quiz is in the chat, and the quiz will be timed. So you'll have limited time to give us a response. And just so that we are able to, get your prize to you, we do need to know who you are. And if you can give us just your contacts as well, we can call you, we can email you. And if you submit it, it will automatically collect all those details for us, and we will be able to contact you for your prize. Are you able to get into the chat? Give me a thumbs up if you are. Can't read any. Oh. All right, so thumbs up, we're in the chat. And if you're in the chat and you gave me those little details, submitted your form, you'll be able to see the question. Is it better to pay off home loan early or invest the money? Not a trick question. We've had advice. Is it better to pay off your home loan early or invest the money? I see the economists pulling out calculators. Milano is ready. No, the panelists can't answer. And if you got it wrong, please visit Mulano. Fix it. If you are not sure, unable to pay off the home loan, unable to invest, go back to Mema Gauta's advice. All right, you let me know when the time stops. We have time for 2 more. The question: better to pay off home loan early or invest the money? And the answer is, I will come to the panel for the answers. Money. The financial planner says, please, we need advice.
Mulano is the financial advice.
But we got in trouble because we arrived at this problem because we are in debt. and our credit profile was not right. Do we have submitted answers? Attempts?
No, there's nothing tricky about it.
It depends where you are. If the emotion of the money is coming in, your advice would be?
I'm not giving advice.
What you see me in my office?
It's financial education only.
Yes. So today we are learning. Am I ready for the second answer question on our quiz? Or our quiz is still open? Okay. So you still have time, and it is closing in 1 minute. About 60 seconds. Look, if you get it wrong, at least it will be corrected. If you get it right, we hope you apply it. And those who are on the timer will let me know. Otherwise, ngiyaba copies. Shall I copies the people? Oh. Okay. That was the question from the audience. We do need, because we said we're doing financial education, and I'm going to go back to, we would love to respond to that. It sounds like an emotional question, but I think it's also goes back to the whole individuality of each person's budget, financial standing. So it would be like asking a doctor's prescription without a proper diagnosis. We would really have to go in and can you please share your details, the person who sent that question, and we will give you a link at least or linkage as to where you can go for really clarity that will be suited for your question, because depending where you are in terms of the financial standing, it would really be unfair to give that advice as a blanket response. Someone else who's in a different position takes it, applies it, and it doesn't end well because it wasn't suited for them. But thank you so much for that important question. It did sound like a trick question, but it was touching on the emotions of depending where we are standing here on the scale. Me, I say, if the money that you have in your pocket
is not enough.
Bad advice, bad advice. All right. So the quiz is up and we've got entries. Oh, it's just closed. Were you able to answer some of the questions? Please share on the chat what you learned from not just the quiz, the webinar. Am I going to share the answers with everybody online? I'd like to. Our first question on the quiz. I can go into the quiz. There we are. So we're on the second question on the quiz. We're going to scroll up. Thank you, thank you. Entrepreneurs love numbers. Yes, they also love money. So which of these is the best practice for keeping track of your business finances? Which of these is the best practice for keeping track of your business finances? And we heard all about separating bank accounts and making your books your friend, not the back office, but the engine of your business. So the options are keep money under your mattress. Your grandmother's advice is not applicable here. Rely only on bank statements. Good start, but use spreadsheets or accounting software. Could it get any easier? Those who got it wrong, see me in my office. We also asked you a nice little puzzle. If you borrow, I'm going to trick my panels here. If you borrow 10,000 Rand at 20% annual interest, how much do you pay back after 1 year? Ignoring fees. Hey, Bobuhle, my accountant ignoring fees. So how much do you pay back after 1 year? I love multiple choice. First option, 10,200. Okay. 12,000 or 20,000. Remember, it's 20% annual interest on 10,000 Rand. And my last one. I've got last two. Imagine you've just made a profit of 50,000. Starting small, midway in your business. What's the smartest first move that you can do with that money? Imagine you've just made a profit. Overheads, done everything, and you owe nobody nothing. You've made a profit of 50,000 Rand. What's the first smartest bold money move that you're going to make with that money? One, don't join me, buy a luxury car. Two, throw a party. I've arrived. Or three, reinvest in marketing, staff, or inventory. Buy a luxury car, throw a party, or reinvest in marketing, staff, or inventory. I mean, it's a giveaway. And lastly, which financial document actually shows if your business is making a profit? So you have a few, you're keeping records, you're doing the things, you've got your books in order, but which financial document actually shows if your business is making a profit? Is it A, the balance sheet, B, income statement, or C, cash flow forecast? I see the business people feeling touched, just like a cash flow. All right. And our quiz is closed, our entries are in, and our adjudicators are making the decision. You submit, are you able to see? Hey, let's Lily. Were you paying attention? All right, so I'm going to ask the team, the engine running behind the scenes, to help us pick one winner, or we can have a few winners because we've got a few gifts to give away. And I'm going to have all the prizes and the winners' names. And my time is almost up. And you did submit your information. So if you won, you will definitely be receiving your prize. But before I go, I do want to extend a sincerest gratitude for honoring us with your time. We know that people pay to see you. So we do not take it lightly, and we really appreciate the work that you do in your individual capacity, in the spaces that you occupy. And it is my wish that you continue strength, good health, and wealth, and everything in between. And as you grow, that you continue sharing so the rest of us can learn. So thank you.
Thank you.
And that was to the ladies in studio as well as my panel online. Thank you so much. We really appreciate Ningaha, Bibangani bami. You don't want that now. The winner. And the winner is. All right, the winner will be contacted, and maybe also follow us on Smart Money Week on our socials. Now that we've given up prices, I just want to remind you Neil's handle is at the Mood Budget, and you can track her journey and see her smash that dead goal of 600,000. But also follow us on our social media handle so that you can keep up with ongoing lessons and maybe find out more about some of our panelists and where you can follow them and their journey. They often in speaking engagements and in their personal capacity do share, but most importantly, how you can contact for those that need help, professional help with starting. We're not just going to talk about it today. We're going to take action and bridge that action intention gap that Usis Wendy spoke about at the start. We're going to announce our winners on our Instagram. Yes, we're going to share our winners. So check out our page on Instagram so that you can see if you're a winner and what you won. The authors I told you brought books. And our time is up. Is my time up? Okay, you put in your number so we will be able to call you. Just go on the website, Smart Money Week. And remember, this week was not just becoming unstoppable, but making sure that we learn the tools and tricks to make money work for us and not us slave away for money. Money_smart_week_SA at money_smart_week_SA, or just visit mswsa.co.za. From me and everybody that made this happen, thank you so much. Thank you to everybody that joined online. You survived and stayed. Thank you to the team behind, and congratulations to all our winners, and thank you to everybody for participating. My name is Mpumi Mbete. You have been an awesome audience.